Hi, welcome back to Edge of the Napkin, where we take a small idea, a single idea, small enough to fit on a napkin, but big enough to change your world. We explore what it really means for how we live, how we lead, and how we grow. Today's napkin is one word: how. It's a simple word, right? But like so many simple words, we throw it around without really thinking about what it means or what it does in our sentences and to our teams, and most importantly, to ourselves. We use how all the time in business and leadership, even in parenting. We say things like, that's not how it's done. That's not how we do things here. You don't know how to do that yet. Let me show how I want you to do that. Or maybe the classic, we tried that how before, it didn't work. Every time we do this, we think we're being clear. We think we're helping, actually. And we're doing two things, though, that quietly limit our teams. First, we're constraining freedom. And second, we're closing the door on innovation, what I call the freedom of how and the future how. Well, let's start with the freedom of how. When we tell someone how to do something, we often remove the opportunity for them to think, create, and own the outcome. And ultimately, that's what we want. We want them to own the outcome. We make the how a rule book instead of an invitation. And that might make things efficient in the short term. It might be really easy and fast for you to tell them this time how to do it. But over time, it kills energy, engagement, and ownership. It's the difference between teaching someone how to fish and giving them a fish. The freedom of how is about trusting your team and, most importantly, yourself enough to let go of control on how the work gets done. It starts with two things: a clear outcome, a defined where we're going, and a little bit of how we're going to get there, what our values are, what our vision is, our mission, how we're going to get there, the way we behave, and what we believe in. It also requires a clear understanding of where we are now, a shared starting, synchronizing your watches. When those things are in place, you can give people the freedom of how and the space to figure out their way of getting things done, their way of getting to there. Maybe that means choosing where they work. Maybe that means how they structure their day or how they collaborate and communicate. When you give people clarity on the outcome and permission to choose the path, something beautiful happens. They start taking ownership of both the journey and of the result. And that's leadership. When my clients and I talk about this, I often ask, do your people know what mountain they're climbing? Do they know what winning looks like? Do they know what base camp you're at right now? And do they have the freedom to chart their path up? Because if they don't, what you actually have is compliance, not commitment. For us as entrepreneurs and leaders, freedom of how means something even deeper. It's about building freedom in the business, freedom to do the work that lights you up and generates conspicuously high value. There's something that you're good at that generates way more value than anyone else. And if you did that, it would grow your business by leaps and bounds. It's that kind of freedom. It's the freedom to step away and have the business continue to work even when you're not there. And it's the freedom to enjoy the profits. And I'm not just talking about financial, but enjoy the profits that come from having a business that lasts, a business that scales. And all of that starts with giving your team the freedom of how. Because until they have that, you don't. The future how. Well, Let's get to brass tacks here. The things we did in the past to get here are obviously the things that won't get us there. Like if we keep on doing the same things that brought us through the past, we'll just end up right back here over and over again. And Marshall Goldsmith said it best when he said, "What got you here won't get you there." It's simple. He talks about the trap of success, how our old habits, the ones that made us successful in the past, can actually keep us stuck in the future. So let's bring that to life. Maybe your how used to be working harder than everyone else, putting in more hours. But in the next chapter, the how needs to be empowering others to work smarter. Maybe your how was saying yes to every opportunity and filling the cup so it overflows. But now it's about building systems so that you don't have to, and understanding that growth is actually subtraction. It's about letting go of things so that you can move forward. The future how is about evolution, about letting go of the old ways that got you here so that you can invent the ways that will take you even further. And that's hard because success creates comfort. Success is a warm blanket that makes everybody feel good about themselves. Comfort creates routine, and routine, if unchecked, creates stagnation. So let's connect this all back to the core business model or the core structure for business that I call focus, align, act. So, how do we unlock both the freedom of how and the future how? We go back to focus, align, act. In episode 300, we go over focus is where you're going, but it's not just where you're going, it's a deep visual movie that you can close your eyes and snap. You're right there in the movie. You can see it, you can hear it, you can taste it, you can smell it, you can be in it. Every sight, smell, everything. And emotionally, you're connected to that moment. That's the kind of vision you need to be able to evoke for yourself. That's focus. Align is where you are right now. It's cleaning the lens, doing the mental hygiene. There's practices that I talk about in episode 300, like making sure that you have mirror moments with yourself, practicing gratitude, setting an intention for the day, spending time on greatness. And act is what you're going to do about it. And it's about being 100% zero in the action, meaning you're 100% all in the action and you're releasing the outcome. You're just there. You're present for the act alone. So let's explore how that idea connects here. Focus, ask yourself, what do I really want to create? What's the vision that matters? Not just now, but forever. When you're able to communicate that clearly to your team, that is the North Star. But for you, you have to have that visual acuity so that you can describe it in that kind of detail. It's not just about telling them how, it's about showing them where. Align is where freedom and trust are born. What values guide the journey? What principles do we share? Do we agree on what success feels like and not just looks like? And do we understand where we are right now? And that comes from being great present center awareness. You need to know where you are, you need to know it with great sense of detail. When you have that kind of alignment, you don't need micromanagement, you have empowerment. Alignment creates the foundation that allows our freedom of how. Now we move, not by dictating the steps. No, we act by creating momentum. What's the next small, meaningful step that we can take right now? What can we experiment to move us forward? Action without alignment is chaos. Alignment without focus is confusion. But when all three work together, focus, align, act, freedom becomes fuel. So when you operate from this place, your team operates from that place as well, and you stop needing to control the how. You start trusting it. You stop clinging to the old how that worked yesterday, and you start inventing the how that will work tomorrow. Think about your own business or team for a second. Where are you still holding on to an old how? Maybe you're holding on to a process that worked back when you were smaller, when you were starting out, when things were maybe simpler, or a leadership style that used to fit your culture but now feels outdated. Or maybe it's a belief about how you need to work to be successful. What if that how is what's holding you back? What if giving yourself and your people the freedom of how is the unlock for true growth? So here's my challenge for you this week: step back and ask, where am I being rigid about the how? Where am I holding on to an old how that no longer serves me? And where can I give myself and my team the freedom to invent the future how? Because when you do that, you don't just change how you work, you change how you lead, you change how you live. And that's what this paper napkin is all about. So before you go, grab a napkin and write down this question: what future how am I ready to invent? And then take one small definite action that moves you toward it. If today's edge of the napkin made you pause or made you think, I hope you share your takeaway with us with the hashtag paper napkin wisdom. Let's keep building the freedom of how together. Because when you give yourself the freedom of how, you unlock the freedom of who you can become. Make it a great day.